That's a good one. That's a good fish.
You're listening to the Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail Podcast.
Woo! Hey everyone, it's Billy here on Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail Podcast, and I'm here with the Creek Crawler, aka Brian Slayton, or Brian. I think it's the other way around. Brian Slayton, aka the Creek Crawler. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Having a good time. What have you been up to?
Man, I am so ready to go catch some of those little green fish that we think about all the time. What about you?
I think about the bronze fish, but the green fish are all right too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good call. I was so desperate that earlier tonight I went to a pond for about an hour right at dusk, and I don't know where I got the idea. I'm kidding. I got the idea from you. I told you I was trying to go out on Allen Creek, and you mentioned something
Yeah.
to a pond. I was like, that's what I got to do. But I still messed it up. So here's what I did. I took one rod with one chatterbait tied on. And I don't even know. I kind of took it because it was not a jackhammer. It was an original.
Yeah.
So I was like, because in the pond I get hung up and I lose things. So, but it was a fire crawl, chatterbait with a fire crawl razor shad, and they were eating it. The big ones were up shallow and they were eating it. But I couldn't land them. I tried to like bank flip two of them, and I didn't hook them. And so I think I've talked about on the podcast. I've gone back and forth with some other people, but I use a Mojo glass rod, like a cranking rod,
Yeah.
for my jackhammers,
Okay.
and I love it. But what I think I need a stiff rod that's fast action if I'm
Yeah.
going to use the regular chatterbait, because the hook is a little, maybe it's not as sharp.
Yeah.
It's a little thicker, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
So why didn't I didn't hook these fish today? I annoyed
I
them.
I lost a couple, so I did the same thing. I went to the ponds this weekend and I actually just got back from the lake. I stopped there before work, and that's what I was throwing too. Is it's the little mini max chatterbait, dude, with the little divine swim bait on the back.
Yeah.
And I caught a couple of them in a half hour on the way home from work. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I gotta get my chatter game up to speed, man, to compete with these guys for real. It's got to be, and that's what was last year when I got into the casting gear. Never thrown a bait caster in my life. I'm going on almost a year now, and now I got 10 combos and throwing all kinds of crazy stuff, glide baits, A rigs.
Oh man. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole for sure.
Oh, it is, dude. It is.
Yeah, I did. I bought the rod, like a rod and reel, about a Revo winch and a big rod for the big swim bait and glide bait. And then I was like, this is gonna be my musky rod. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna give it another shot this year with with the glide baits. So I was watching, I forget which video. Obviously I spend a lot of time on YouTube. So
Right.
I was watching someone talk about, he was talking about, maybe you can like give some insight into this with your all that expertise you have with the swim baits, since you said about a year now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I got what, 9 bass on the glide bait so far.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hey, man, it's fun. It's fun. I caught a nice creek bass. I took it to the creek. I was like, if I want to catch a bass on the glide bait, I'm gonna take it to the creek. And sure enough, the first day I go out with I think it's a 6 inch, 5.5, 6 inch glide bait that 6 cents makes, the flow glider. But I made some adjustments just cut some stuff, plastic off with a Dremel, and made it like cut and like swim differently. And 4 or 5 casts into the creek, I caught like a 17.5, 18 inch largemouth on the glide bait, and I was like, oh gosh. Then it was downhill from there. I went and bought all this extra stuff. I'm like, dang it. Oh, but it's fun, man. It's really fun. It's fun to get out of your comfort zone and and really experiment with different baits, different presentations. Because I'm a finesse guy. Like in our trail last year, I probably caught 95% of my fish were probably on some sort of finesse technique, a little leech, a little swim bait, um, shaky head or something like that. But trying to transition and getting into that fast-paced action that everyone's doing, that what do you guys call it? You're sitting there just burning baits down the bank, and just trying to learn that technique. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, I think it's more
weird.
just
It's
that reaction bite.
Yeah, the reaction bite, and it's weird going from like finesse to that kind of fishing. Usually people start out, rolling crankbaits and stuff, and then they're like, let's try to get into finesse maybe. And then it's like a nightmare. But this, I don't know, this power fishing, that's what it is, power
Power
fishing.
fishing, there you go.
Yeah, power fishing.
Yeah.
I'm really going to focus on that this year. And got the spinner baits, the chatter baits tied up. I'm ready for Alum Creek here in the next, was it April 15th?
Yep, April 15th. I know some of you are headed up to St. Clair, but the rest of us, we know what's up. We're going to be at Alum Creek. And
hey, there's some giant smallmouth in Alum Creek, man. Do not sleep on that place. I've never caught any big smallmouth out of there, but I've seen some giants get caught out there. And I'm predicting someone's going to catch a 20-inch smallmouth, maybe a couple. It's going to be a good time.
I only have one big smallmouth story, and it was Alum Creek. I feel like you said, like, was that a softball pitch that you threw it out for me to tell my only? I caught 21 and a half smallie.
Oh goodness! See,
last year, yeah. So, yep. Thanks everyone. That's it. Thanks for listening. It was a great show.
Just flex on us and leave. Is that what you're gonna do?
I caught on a Spro, like the
rock crawler or something.
Rock crawler, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. It was and shout out to Parker. He was out there crushing them, and I think I have this story right, but I can't remember if this is exactly how it went. But don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, right? So he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, you got to get out here." And I had something else going on. He's like, "No, get out here." And so I was like, "Okay." So I was.
Was this like the same kind of time of year that we're going to be going, or was it April?
Yeah.
Was it really sweet?
Yep.
Heck yeah.
But I think the window is, that pattern. Obviously, we don't. I don't want to fish history. I don't want to get caught up in all that. But I went out I went out 2 days ago and was scoping out some of those same areas, and they're not there yet.
Right.
Caught a catfish.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's going to be, it's April 15th, and depending on what's going on, man. I mean, the water temps here at the lake. I just asked a guy here at the Southeast Ohio lake, and the water temps are 49 degrees. So, another month? Another 5 weeks, that water temp could be, I don't know what alum is right now, but I'm betting it's not too far off of that. So
yeah, it was 44 at the south end.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So yeah. And
so I
don't mind, like, you're not going to give away any juice. That's why I love alum and Hoover both.
Man, I don't care about giving away the juice. I'll you got to go out there and you just got to fish, man. It doesn't matter if you hear the juice. What happens is people get caught up in following other people's bites, and it just never ends up. It just never happens. I don't think you go out there, you fish your confidence baits, you fish, how you fish, and that's how you're gonna get them. But that's my philosophy anyway.
No, you're right. I mean, if you follow behind someone, because I've been guilty of saying that, oh man, I was behind this guy or whatever, and you got all the fish. You're like, no, not really. Because I've been the guy in the front and someone comes behind me and catches fish. And I'm like, what? And then I'm just like, I suck. Okay, well, maybe it's just a different presentation.
That's a great segue, because last year, April time, I went to Dale Hollow, and it was like my first big kayak tournament. I went to Dale Hollow, and there was a big MLF event. There was 300 boats launching from my ramp. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's boats everywhere. They're doing 90 miles an hour. I'm like, I'm just going to tuck in this little creek and go do some finesse stuff and see what happens. Well, a couple of the boats come back there, and I'm back there fishing, and they're buzzing around their trolling motors. And I'm fishing behind these guys, and I didn't see them catch anything. And I caught 3 bass literally like 20, 30 yards behind their boat. I'm sitting there catching fish and they're just like going right over it. I'm just like, keep going, dude. It was awesome.
Oh, and they saw you. They saw you.
Oh yeah.
They
Yeah,
saw
they
you.
saw and then he saw me. I think it was like the third one I caught behind him. He just revs up his engine right in the middle of the creek, and this creek was only like 40 yards wide. I'm like, man, that wasn't necessary. And he just busts off. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But luckily the tournament was over by then and I already had my limit. So I was like, that was awesome.
Heck yeah. Well, I like that you brought up how things are unnecessary, but I want to show you. So because we're talking about alum, I got me sometimes I forget that I'm doing a podcast. So right now I'm holding up a Bengals flag. New flag.
Oh, nice.
This just like my hat. So this will be, I gotta take this as far as I can go. I don't know. I think Burrow's gonna be signed and we're gonna be good. But no, the reason I bring it up, you said, that guy that was back there fired up his motor. So Alum Creek on April 15th, most of us have no business crossing the lake. So there's no rules against it or whatever, but it's a lot bigger. I think most people are going to be familiar with the lake, but if you're listening to this podcast because we're going to talk about alum or whatever, there's going to be a lot of boats out there. So, make sure you have your flag, and I'll have 2 flags. I've been adding every piece of orange accessories up. It made me, I'll make the joke before someone else does it. You remember when we were kids? I might be a lot older than you, but when I was a kid, you'd go to like the auto parts store, like Pet Boys or Advanced Auto, and you'd buy like the cheesiest little stuff and stick on your car. And it was like, my car was junk, but I had, $120 worth of stuff, chrome stickers and all that. I feel like I have, with grown-up money, I'm like, oh, Catch made this unnecessary piece of aluminum for me. Look, a lot of guys, maybe they know what they're doing with it. I'm just buying, if it's orange and it's aluminum, I'm ripping the plastic off my Hobie and putting this putting the aluminum on there. So.
You also got the orange kayak cushion at the expo, didn't you?
Yeah, well,
did you not?
I bought 2 of them.
Oh, you bought the kayak cushions?
Yeah. So
nice.
my boat is blue. I'm like, I don't want a blue Hobie. I want an orange one. So and I recently got the Torpedo and put that on there. So I know, like, we have a Wednesday night league. I'm not allowed to use it there. And I know, like, Hobie, you can't use it. You can practice or whatever. But I bought a steering triangle from Innovative Sportsman that's orange. So
oh wow,
all the orange I can get. But I have my flag. And of course, I'm kind of making fun of myself when I say it, but it's no joke because I brought up Parker already once. He was out 3 weekends ago, and I think he put it on Facebook, so I think I can mention it. He had a boat that the guy didn't see him. He was in a bass boat, and the guy was coming right at him, and he's yelling, and he said that he actually had thoughts of like, what? Like, is this how it ends or whatever?
Right. Wow, man.
And the guy circled back and apologized, and Parker was like, I'm done for the day, and just he was whatever. He's like
shaking, man.
Yeah. So, and then the guy even came over to the dock and was like, hey, again, I apologize. And he was like, no, it's whatever, man. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah. So
360 lights.
Yeah. Yep. And then I know Chris Hannigan posted something on Facebook last year where he got a warning from ODNR for being too far offshore in a kayak. And
wow.
They pulled up the regulation and showed it to him. And look, we don't, again, KBF, Hobie, like all these things, we follow KBF rules with BKFT. So there's no current rule saying that you can't be so, I mean, obviously, if it's an offshore bite, like we have the same graphs, we have the same, like I said, some of it has like we have a motor or whatever. But he got a warning. So yeah.
That's wicked, man.
Yeah, he's in the system now. So that guy, I think
you should totally get Joe Burrow to sign your kayak, man. Wouldn't that be sweet?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you take like a piece of your kayak off and take it to like one of his autograph signings or something? Just be like, can you sign this for me?
He's gonna be like, what is this?
What is it?
And then he'll see my sunglass tan lines and be like, oh no, he's one of those guys. So I love it. I want to talk as much as I'd love to talk about the Bengals and me and all that. And I keep forgetting we're recording video on this because I'm like looking around. I want to talk to you about TheCreekCrawler, and I have some specific questions, but I know when the channel is really big, and when I go back and I look at how quick it kind of blew up, when I say quick, I mean like about 3 years ago, it really started to gain momentum. But talk with me a little bit about it. I don't know how many people listen to this are like, I may start a YouTube channel or I may whatever. It doesn't just blow up. I've even heard some, people that if you listen to some of the experts that are trying to genuinely just help you out, help you grow a channel. Even Mr. Beast, he was one of them that said it. You don't want like a video to go viral if you're a small channel. That can hurt you. I even think about John Graves, who was down in Cincinnati. He moved to Florida. Trader.
Yeah.
You're listening.
Yeah, right.
John Graves. He had Poochie, his horse, that he had a great TikTok, and his TikTok went viral. And then he had like 50 or 60,000 TikTok followers that were part of the miniature horse community.
Yeah.
So to try to, recover from that, I don't say recover like it's a
try to build his audience back up.
Yeah. So talk to me about before 3 years ago. Like, how long had you thought about starting a channel, and what was that journey like?
Like pre YouTube channel, like I was in the Navy from 2012 to 2016. And while I was over there, I had bought a GoPro and I recorded some stuff. If you look on my channel, I've actually got videos on there that are like 5 or 6 years old that are just little clips I put on when I would go snorkeling in the reef and stuff. Wherever I went, I would go just record little things, and I put it on my YouTube channel while I was still in the Navy. And then when I got out, I was like, you know what, man? I went to Hocking College, and that's where John B from the Guggen Squad went. Like as I was arriving there, he was leaving like that semester, or he left the semester before. I was like, oh dang, that would have been a cool coincidence, right?
Yeah.
But so I got enrolled at Hocking. The Hocking River is right there next to campus, and I was fishing there all the time, all the little creeks. And I've fished the creeks and rivers my whole life when I lived in Southwest Ohio, in the Dayton, Miamisburg area. But I was like, there's really not much, content as far as like creek fishing in Ohio that I was aware of. And I was like, this is something I'm really passionate about, and I want to get this out in the space to where people can realize and understand that there's great fishing right under your nose, right under the little bridge that you drive over, and there's a little creek running. There's could be amazing fisheries there. And that's the message I wanted to deliver through my channel. And fast forward to today, I mean, I'm growing slowly. I'm trying to put out as much content as possible. But yeah, that was just the premise of me starting my channel, was just to show people that you can bank fish and still have a great time, and you can still create amazing memories despite the size of the waterway. And that's the point and message I try to get across on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, man, I love it. And you don't overcomplicate. You don't, a lot of people, I would think, I did this, where I thought I had to have the best camera. I had to have all the knowledge. I had to have, background music, and the audio had to be good. The lighting had to be good, all that. And it's like, no, well, eventually you want to get there, but that will come with time. And you right now, just probably because you've done it so much, now you've got the audio dialed in, and you've got the, it's very, I think this is a compliment. It's very easy to watch. There's some videos where the content is really good, but I feel like I'm in school and I'm struggling to, watch it. So you're entertaining and informative. And anyone ask me about a YouTube channel, I'm like, well, I can give you my personal opinion. I go on YouTube if I want to be entertained or I want to learn something. And I really feel like your videos do both. So good job on that.
I appreciate it, man. And that's one of the things with YouTube is you want to create a content that's digestible and something that's super easy. And my my strategy to creating my YouTube videos is very simple. As you mentioned, I have an old camera. I have a GoPro Hero 4 Silver. I'm still on the market for some. So if you guys know anyone that's got them, they're like, it's like the technology is so old, it's hard to find any on like the marketplace. But if you know anyone out there, GoPro Hero 4 Silver, let me know. But yeah, I have that. I have a little mic and that I attach to the side. They're not like the new GoPros where you have to buy that little adapter you were showing me before we started recording. Just a simple process, a chest camera, and I got a cool little editing software I upload all my videos on, and then I cut it and just try to create a story. I didn't know we was going to go this route, but this is
You
pretty
know what?
awesome.
I actually didn't know that either. Here, I purposely, these are my notes
Oh,
before.
okay.
No notes. There's no notes.
No notes of like,
So
no, but
I love
yeah,
it.
just kind of creating a story for your viewers to watch and something they can enjoy. And what I think my channel's, I don't think it's that big. I'm pushing 7,000 subscribers. I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now, pretty hard. But I think that's one of the things is as you create content on YouTube, you want to be authentic and you want to grow at a steady pace. I don't, like you mentioned earlier, that overnight success. I don't think that really helps. I just don't think it helps. I mean, it can get you out there for the minute, but you really want to create a viewership that's really authentic and follows your content. So just create something simple, create a story that people can learn from. And I think one of the reasons why my channel is doing okay is it's a lot of people in Ohio that's just like, you know what? That creek crawler guy went in his creek. I can probably go down to my creek and catch fish. I've gotten so many DMs on Instagram and stuff like, hey man, I went to my little creek. It's like not even a knee deep, and I caught like a 3 pound smallmouth. It was insane. I'm like, man, see, that's what I'm talking about. And people's lives just get changed. I mean, it sounds corny, but it really does change your life, and it brings a benefit to your health, I think, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Like when you're around rushing water and you're able to get in those environments and just catch awesome fish, it's a blast, man. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. It's there is that mental aspect of it, no matter if you're in a tournament or if you're just going down to the creek to hang out for a while. The mental part would be you can force yourself into saying, I'm going to appreciate this. I'm going to go put myself in a position to relax and I'm going to go. But that's once that epiphany, once that light bulb kind of goes off and you're paddling out to a spot in the morning and you go, wait a minute, holy moly. Like, I don't know how the day is going to go. Well, we all think we're going to win. We all think it's going to be the greatest tournament we ever had, but the optimism is just crazy. But if you can just take that in,
Yeah.
and then make it a normal part of what you do, that you're always
Hmm.
just appreciating it. One of my favorite quotes ever was, I don't know. I don't know anything about like politics and all that stuff. I'm going to say John Lennon said, life happens while you're busy making other plans. And I think I was fortunate. Now I have 4 kids, but I think I was fortunate enough to have the kids when I was a little bit older. And
Hmm.
so giving them a bath and making them dinner and those things that when if I was younger and that had happened, I would have been like, oh, this is keeping me from what I want to do, not
Right.
realizing that that was life. So
Yeah.
when you go out there to your spot in the tournament or you go down to that little creek, it doesn't matter if you catch a 17-inch smallie in this little creek. The fact that you walk down there, like
Yeah.
that's what it is, so much fun.
Yep. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to inspire. I just want to inspire that curiosity of the landscape and the natural resources we have, and just get people out on the water because at the end of the day, the more people we have on our team, like on the conservation side of things, the better we are in the long run. Because if you look at the statistics, man, fishing license sales, hunting sales, like the tickets, the permits and hunting licenses, all that stuff, they're like on a decline. We had like a slight increase during the COVID, but it's back down to a decline again, and it's sad to see because what happens is eventually you don't have a large enough voice, you don't have a large enough audience to protect the spaces that we love to enjoy so much.
I ended up buying a 10-year fishing I was going to do the lifetime.
Did
I
you?
bought a 10-year one.
I should have did the lifetime when they first came out because they were like
Yeah.
$400 or $500. I'm like, man, that's a huge savings.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to go to the doctor first and see if I'm
See if I can live that out.
drinking
Get
too
that
many of these IPAs.
getting return on investment.
So I like I said, I do have 4 kids, and they've all fished a little bit here and there, but one of my kids is really into it. But if if Austin was gonna like head down to the creek, and he didn't know me, right? I wasn't his dad, and he stumbled on the creek crawler, because there's things like the gear, but you want simple gear, but you want to have the gear that's going to make you successful. You don't want to trespass. Do you wade the creek? Do you walk the bank? Do you ride your bike and put it somewhere in the, like, where would you, if you had to give like a 16, 17-year-old, with their parents' permission, of course, you had to give them some good advice to catch some creek smallies? Well,
one rod. Don't be taking more than one rod because it's a nightmare. And when you're creek fishing, you want to be constantly be on the move. So you want to pack light. I obviously don't pack light. I think my bag weighs like 30 pounds now because I got the camera and like 15 batteries and all that. But yeah, just pack light, grab a backpack, put a couple Plano boxes in there, throw some Hellgrammites, throw a topwater lure in there, a little crankbait, and just keep it simple, man. Just keep it simple, and you'll just have way more fun. Yeah, just pack light and just keep being on the move. And another tip I would give to someone who's going to the creek, a young kid, because that's what I did. I mean, that's where I cut my teeth. Go to your parks, man. All these parks along the rivers, especially like the Great Miami River, the Scioto River, our big river systems. There's a Great Miami River Conservancy District, I think. They own a ton of land along the river. Just find those organizations that do a lot of conservation work, and typically their land along those riverbanks are public, and even the creeks too. So if you're worried about trespassing and all that, like when I was growing up as a kid, nobody cared that I was in the back, but when you get to be an adult male, and you're in your 30s, they start questioning why you're in the creek behind their house.
yeah.
But I've had tons of positive interactions with like landowners and stuff. They typically don't even care, especially if you pick up some trash or something along the way. People always are throwing trash off the bridges and stuff like that. And I've talked to a few landowners, they're like, yeah, you can fish here whenever you want, just they understand that the angler is their ally, right? So 9 times out of 10, they'll just let you fish their creek. But yeah, just pack light, be on the move, and just enjoy it, man. Just sit back, be an observer too. Observe the wildlife, watch the fish that you're chasing, because in the creek systems, you get the opportunity to be within a few feet of a big smallmouth. And you can sit there and just watch how he operates the landscape, how he operates around a certain rock or a certain piece of timber that's fallen in the creek. You can learn so much just from sitting back and watching how these fish move. And once you've learned how to, be patient enough just to watch that big smallmouth without casting at him, and you'll start picking up things. And wherever you go, all that knowledge transfers over pretty well.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was the hardest for me to accept as a fact. Everyone said time on the water. I was like, how do I get better? Specifically at the tournament thing, because I started in 2019, fished the entire year. I think most of the tournaments, like 90% of the tournaments that I fished out of my kayak in 2019, I caught 0 fish. Like I wasn't even, so when I started making YouTube content last year, seriously trying to do it, and I was like, hey, I just want to get limit. My goal is 5 fish. That goal came from that was therapy for me. Like that was
right.
was some real issues I had going on. But everyone said, time on the water, and then you pull up tactical bassin or fish the moment, and you find these channels where you're like, maybe Alex Rudd, Creek Crawler, and you try to find something that resonates with you. And they can be the best angler in the world, but you have to understand where they're coming from and you understand their message.
Mm-hmm.
But time on the water was something that everyone said, and that turned out. So I like that tip. Like I would cast at this smallmouth like right away. I wouldn't be able to watch it. I did see one of your videos where this was one of the older ones again, because I went way back to see how far it went back. I don't think it was the snorkeling. You were fishing and then you saw some yellow perch eggs and you put your
Okay.
camera down in the water. That was so cool.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ribbon. Yeah, the yellow perch. Because they lay eggs in like a ribbon. If you ever seen they're like these long ribbons. It's just like it's really cool. But I that was one of my focuses this year. Is going to get back into doing the underwater stuff. Now that we've kind of condensed our schedule a little bit, and this is the only tournament series I'm really going to fish, I think I'm going to get into like breaking down the creek from the inside. Like I used to do this when I was really young. I used to have like my snorkeling gear and stuff like that, and I would swim and find the undercuts in these little creeks, and you would be amazed at how many big fish, how many fish just utilize undercut banks in these little creeks that are just 10 to 15 foot wide. And there'd be a little 3 or 4 foot hole with a bank undercut, and I'd get my snorkel and I'd go down there. And it was just like, I opened up like Pandora's box. I was like, if you looked at this from like the road, you'd be like, there's no way there's a fish in there. But then you look at the undercut bank and I put my arm back there and it's like arm's length deep. And it's like, there's fish all over in here. It was wild, wild discovery when I was super young. And that's what was really piquing my interest, was just getting intimate with that landscape, getting intimate with the environment that I was fishing in.
Yeah, man, I hope you do that. That's cool. We the first Hobie tournament you did was the first one that I did as well at the Susquehanna. And Parker and I were pre-fishing, and it's on my YouTube. I'm not like plugging my YouTube. I don't go watch it or don't watch it. But I'm doing it because I love doing it right now. So maybe
You
one
make
day
awesome stuff, man. Come on now. You got
I
good
didn't.
stuff.
Yeah, I just didn't want to make it like, hey, I'm pushing my content. But so I caught a fish. It was like 18, probably like 18 a quarter, maybe. Susky smallmouth, which was, fighting hard, all the things. And then he was like in this little creek. The little creek came into the river, and when I let him go, Parker was like, he swam right back to where you caught him, under that tree, under that little bush, and it was undercut, a lot of roots and stuff. So I had the Insta360 camera, so I kind of threw it over to Parker, and I was like, turn it on and just stick it down in there and just see what happens. And the video, it made the cut, and then part of it was we had a conversation. This didn't make the cut. We had a conversation about, hey, that fish is already stressed out.
Yeah.
We don't need to sit there and poke it with a camera. So we got a little bit of video. Yeah. And then we left. But
that's funny.
yeah, the underwater stuff is so cool. And then the thing for anyone listening to this that wants to get like footage or whatever, yes, you need your camera to upload to TourneyX. Most cameras now are waterproof. Like you can get really good release videos with your camera. I mean your phone camera. If you get water in you're not gonna be able to charge it. So that's, hey, maybe that's my pro tip. If I'm gonna use my phone for underwater video, I make sure my battery is fully charged, because you can't get it won't plug in. It'll say water detected, and it'll block it. So
that's funny.
Yeah, but a GoPro or a waterproof action camera is probably a better idea.
Oh, absolutely. 100% recommend it.
Well, you probably have the case, like a waterproof case.
So the Hero 4 Silver, I do a skeleton case, because if you put it in a normal case, the audio is garbage. So I have the Hero 4 Silver and a skeleton case with the little mic on it. And then I also have a Hero 8 Black, which is the one I use for underwater. And it's waterproof right out of the box. So you don't even have to put a case on it or nothing. I just tie it onto like a little selfie stick or whatever you got, and then I got this telescopic rod. It's pretty sweet. It goes out to like 10 feet, so I can put my GoPro on it and like really go underneath the undercut banks from a distance away and kind of like get some scouting footage or whatever. But yeah, you can get I would get like a newer GoPro. They're all like waterproof right out of the box.
Yeah. The 8, that's the one I had. I sold it, but that's the one I had as well. The 8 was it might have been the first one. It was waterproof no case needed.
Yeah, I
whatever.
think so. Yep.
Yeah, and the audio wasn't bad. Like, you can't take it right out of the water and start talking, but after a minute, it was okay. But I did like that one. The 8 didn't have, you couldn't replace the lens.
The
And I
lens,
was like, what are they doing? And
Yep.
probably because it was waterproof and all that. But no, the 8, I'll tell you what I liked about the 8 was the audio quality, like in the car. Man, I was like, no microphones, nothing. It was so good. But
It's crispy. Yep.
yeah. I also bought a selfie. I bought a 10-foot selfie stick for my 360 camera. It should be here tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah. So the regular selfie stick, it's like 4 feet or something. And with the 360 camera and the Insta 360, the GoPro Max does it too, but it does like the invisible selfie stick, which is there's no like software or anything. It's just it's in the blind spot of the stick. So a 10-foot stick. It's gonna basically what I'm gonna try to do is get some GoPro. I'm gonna try to get some drone like footage.
Ooh, nice.
So, and then I want to try to do like some with my buddy. We're gonna try to do some glide bait or big swim bait and get some follows in clear water with what looks like a drone. Because if you fly a drone, what is your battery time on the drone, and then how long do you got to throw this glide bait to get a follow?
Right.
So if we do it with a, the way I'm thinking, we'll see how it works.
Yeah.
It's like
sounds like an interesting endeavor.
Yeah, for sure. I had another question about YouTube stuff, and then I want to talk to you more about BKFT and your tournament success and kind of your plans for this year. But so everyone has a catchphrase, I think. Maybe some people don't. But you say, "Let's go.
Let's go."
Where when did it start, or was it like before YouTube, a thing that you would say? Or
it was before YouTube. Like, I grew up playing sports. I played football a lot and everything, so super competitive in like that aspect. But I don't know, I just always said let's go, and my buddy's like, why don't you just say that at like the beginning of your video or something just to get people hyped? And I was like, I guess so. I don't know. I'll just try it. And I was just like, it's kind of weird when like you're filming an intro or an outro video in like public spaces and you're over there and you scream, let's go. And they look over, you're just talking to a camera. But yeah, that's how it came about. And in the beginning, my videos, it was like super cringy, like my older videos. I was like, let's go. And now I'm just like getting into it, like super hype, just to get some excitement out of people, that watch the videos. And everyone loves it. I mean, people walk up to me like out in the public, they're like, let's go. I'm just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Spring's getting closer. I can smell it. I'm so stoked. But come along with me. Let's see if we can catch some smallmouth today, guys. Let's go. All right, let's go over the gear we'll be using in the creek.
I mean, do you have like merch? Can you get a let's go?
Oh man, I have a logo that a subscriber made for me, and it is super cool. I'll probably start doing the merch. I made stickers and stuff like that. I drew my own logo. Here's the paper version, but
oh yeah,
it's just the Helgermite with the TheCreekCrawler on it.
Yeah, that is cool.
So I drew that and got that turned into like a digital format, and then a subscriber made me a logo as well. And I eventually want to get into like hats or something like that. I got the stickers that are pretty cool. I've sold them, sold a couple. I haven't really like announced it anywhere except my Instagram, but yeah, I really want to create like that brand, the TheCreekCrawler brand. It'd be pretty cool just for anyone who fishes the creeks and the rivers.
I remember going to the expos and talking to the guy that the Good River guy with the hats and the shirts and stuff. And I was always like, where's the big walnut? Where's it? And I was always like, I always wanted creeks like around me. And he was like, well, hold on a minute. He's like, there's like 5 of you fishing that creek. So he's like, hold on. He's like, well, we have the Ohio River. We have the Hocking River. I was like, dang it. So no, I get it. And then I bought a sticker. I did buy some Nico baits, and I
seen you at the booth at the expo. Thanks for coming by, man. Appreciate it.
Man. The guy, who was the guy that I met? What's his name?
Scott.
Yeah. He was so nice. I talked about it, I think, a little bit on a podcast with Quentin Eccles, But Scott is sometimes you just meet someone, you're like, wow, like this guy's just really nice. So just talking with him and everything, and I'm like, oh, that cost me $100. So I went home and bought a bunch of stuff. And I'm not telling anyone
You
what I
ain't telling
bought.
nobody the juice.
You guys can go find your own juice. But I did buy a sticker, and it's the Helgermite, the
Oh,
Nico
the Helgermite one?
Helgermite
Yeah.
sticker. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm right now I have Strictly Sail and Raccoon Creek, and I think is what I'm trying not to look like a semi-pro kayak
All the
angler
stickers
with the
everywhere.
stickers, but when it's like a small company,
Yeah,
people that I
absolutely.
actually have some kind of personal connection with, or some like a brand I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not pro staff. I don't get any ideas if someone's listening. They're like, oh, I'm not interested in that. Unless you have GPS, some waypoints you want to send me. I'm all about that. But yeah, I love it. And I love the artwork that you did. Greg Shootman's daughter, she had Breezy Bombers, and she
Yeah.
has like the little artwork that you can tell, I don't know. I gotta talk to him about like who did the artwork and stuff, but once a logo becomes a logo, because it would be easy I would think, to overanalyze or kind of critique it and be like, is this really what I want it's like, no, once that's it, like that's
Mm-hmm.
what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
So Creek Crawler, and then they boom. Yeah. So I love it. So talk to me about the Helgermite, and then like why the creek, why Ohio, and like why do you think a Helgermite is successful? And I don't hear a lot about it.
Yeah. So let's see. It's probably been 4 years now. I was browsing through YouTube, and there was a guy doing creek videos in Tennessee. His name's John from Creek Fishing Adventures. I don't know if you watch his channel or nothing, but he was throwing this Helgermite, Nico Helgermite, and I was like, what? I was like, there's a soft plastic Helgermite. And as a student at Hawken College, I studied fisheries and wildlife biology and everything like that. So I'm aware of these macroinvertebrates that are in our streams and creeks around here in Ohio. And I was just like, why haven't I been throwing this thing for ever? So I bought some, go out there to the creek, and I start throwing the Helgermite, and it was just unreal. I was just like, this is awesome. And the reason why it is so productive is because the Helgermite is um the Helgermite, this is the big one, but
Oh,
got the big Helgermite.
how big is that?
This is the 4 1/4 inch. This is the big one they just came out with.
Oh, wow.
But this turns into a Dobson fly, and the Helgermite is in the larval stage for multiple years before it even hatches. So not only do you have a forage item that's in the creek annually, it's something that's readily available for smallmouth and any predatory fish to prey on throughout the year. It's not like a seasonal thing like, oh, there's a Helgermite hatch Dobson fly. These creatures take a long time to form into their final stages. So I started throwing this around, and I'm like, man, I've literally caught now to this day, I've caught a fish every month of the year. December, January, November, February on the Helgermite, and it's been lights out. It's one of my favorite little soft plastic baits to throw. And now we got the big one. I'm super excited to throw the big one and see, like, do I get bigger bites? Is my quality of fish going to get bigger now I'm throwing like a bigger bait? They're always like bigger baits, bigger fish, but I'll test that out this year with the larger Helgermite and see what happens.
Oh yeah. And then I noticed the one that you held up was black.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite colors, just the obsidian.
Yeah.
Just straight black. And I like this because, like, if you ever go in the creeks and turn over some rocks, you'll find some Helgermites more than likely if your stream is pretty healthy. But typically they're like a dark brown, reddish brown color. So I throw the obsidian and the natural color we have, which is like a brownish beige color. It's like a super dark color too. But yeah, man, it's one of those things. Like, if you go to the creek, I highly recommend throwing the little Helgermite, 100%.
And then how many different sizes are there? That's the big one. And then there's
Yeah, we have the 4 1/4 inch, and then the other one I think is like a 3 incher, 3.2 inches maybe. It's a lot smaller. I wish I had one here for comparison, but I just have the other ones, but yeah, the other one's like a 3-inch bait or something like that.
Yeah. And can you get the big one now? Can you buy it?
Yep, the big ones are available. They're actually at Vance Outdoors picked up a bunch from Scott at the Columbus Fishing Expo. So I know for sure they're in Hebron, centrally located up there by Buckeye Lake, Hebron, Vance Outdoors.
Yeah. And they have a they have a whole end cap with the
Yeah.
I took a picture. I think I'll just put it on here. Like,
oh, did you?
Right there it is.
Yeah.
That's like a TikTok thing. Like it would, and then my hand would be whatever. Yeah. So it was pretty cool. They have so much.
Yeah.
Then I get it. Like the cost of running a website and being from like it's from Japan, right? Like
yeah, all these baits come from Japan.
Yeah.
Scott is the only distributor in the United States, so they come from Japan to Scott in Virginia, and then he disperses them from there. He gives them to their local stores that buy them and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I guess what I was gonna say is like I understand there's like it may cost more for several reasons, and then I went to Vance Outdoors. I'm like, well, these are cheaper. What's going on? I mean, maybe not a lot cheaper, but price.
Yeah,
or maybe not cheaper, isn't there? There is a good deal. It's a good deal.
Yeah, and then if you go to vanceoutdoors.com, you can use my code they gave me for my subscribers on YouTube and save 15%.
Yeah.
So, and that's for all your fishing stuff that's not on clearance. So if you want to go buy a new rod or a new reel, use code crawler15 on their website. That ends up being a lot of money over time. Like I was so surprised when they gave that to me and my viewers. I was like, man, you guys better use this before they take it away from me.
Yeah, there you go. Crawler 15. So and you but you can't use it if you go in store. You can't.
No, you can't.
You can't tell the cashier.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to order online. So
yeah. I love it. There was actually I got a message from Ben Wilkie. And Ben, he was out at Vance's and he saw a lure that he heard me say I was looking for one time. And he's like, oh, I'll have him hold it. And then they did. He got 2 of them, put a rubber band on there. And then I went out the next day and I bought them. So yeah, Vance, they're good people out there.
They are good people, man. Ohio grown business. I'm so blessed and honored to have them like supporting me in my YouTube channel. They've really been nice to me.
Yeah. And then I was only going to spend like $20. So Ben Wilkie, you owe me like $80. I bought a bunch of stuff. I bought some razor shads. I bought some Mag Fatty Z's. Bought some more Spro crankbaits that I already had. I was like, well, wait, I might lose it. So I bought another one.
That's the word. That's the thing, man. You'll be like, all right, I got 3 of these. And then you start thinking, you're like, I'm probably going to lose 3 of these at the lake today. So I might as well get a couple more.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's like 15 of them in your garage. You're like, dang.
You got started. Did you do tournaments like before?
Last year, I think it was last year, I went to Cincinnati kayak fishing. I had a pelican that was like 9 foot long or something like that. And I was talking to some folks over at the Cincinnati kayak fishing trail, and they're like, come fishing out here with us, it's fun. And I go out there with my little 9-foot pelican, and it's going like 30 miles an hour wind across the lake. And it basically just made my whole day miserable. I think I ended up catching like 5 fish, and I ended up getting like, I don't know, it was top 20 or something. But I was like, hey, I could do this. If I can do this in a little pelican that's 9 foot long, I can do this in a bigger kayak. So I stepped up my game. I got the Old Town PDL 106 and went to Del Hollow a little while after that and competed with a bunch of Tennessee hammers down there. And I got 5th place at Del Hollow. And I was like, whoa, and I'm doing the same stuff I do in the creek, like the same finesse techniques. I'm like, I might be able to do this. And then I come back and the BKFT trail, Matt Davis and the Raccoon Creek guys down here in Southeast Ohio, we talked about it. And I was like, I'm going to go fish these with y'all this year. And I fished 5 or 6 events last year, whatever the minimum was to get into the classic.
Yeah.
And fished those and had an absolute blast, man. I mean, I did catch some big fish at Nemasilla. That was an unreal day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was super successful. I was like, man, this is fun. I'm going to keep going at it and we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll be able to replicate last year that I blew my own expectations out of the water. I was like, I just want to go out, catch a limit, that's like everyone's goal, right? Is just to catch a limit. And then all of a sudden in Ohio, you catch a limit and they're 13, 14, 15 inchers, you have a chance at getting in the top and cashing a check.
Yeah.
It's like it's really not like it's hard to get a limit, don't get me wrong, but if you can go out and catch a solid little limit, you have a chance at getting the top 10 every tournament. And I think 6 events. Yeah, I fished 6 events. I got 4 top 10s. And then what was so funny was the river events, which I pride myself on, is the ones I did the worst. I was like, how does it even make sense? I go to these lakes for the first time and I get all these top 10s, and then I go to the river and I'm just like middle of the pack. I'm like, dang, dude, what the heck's going on?
Well,
But
I bet when creek crawler goes out to the creek, there's not like you don't have like 50 buddies with you.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not fishing.
pressure
Yeah,
is a real thing. Yeah.
it is, man. It's like, holy
Fishing
smokes.
pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm floating behind like 5 or 6 other kayaks. I'm like, man, there's only so many spots to go around, It's like, dang. But it was a big learning curve last year. The community's awesome. They do awesome camping events, and Melissa and all them, they have an awesome little parties and stuff before the derbies. I unfortunately don't get to participate because I just show up the morning of the tournament and go fishing, but hopefully I can get out there early this year and get a pre-fishing day or something in.
Yeah. No, it's so much fun. I have booked already 3 campsites. So there's 6 events. 3 of them because I live in Central Ohio. So Alum Creek, I don't need one for there. Indian, I'll drive there, and then Dayton Rivers, I'll drive there. The other 3 already booked, but they'll be camping at Alum, and I'm sure they'll be camping at Indian. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We used to do in the Dayton Rivers. It was that the Subaru Outdoor Festival or whatever. We would camp
Yeah.
like at the Metro Park because they allowed camping, and that was fun.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
That was maybe too much fun, but
I'm looking forward to it, man, for sure. It's gonna be a good time.
yeah, you talked about Matt Davis and Raccoon Creek and all that. When you fished Raccoon Creek, you got like big fish.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
I
With like
remember this
10 minutes left to go, it was the worst. It was like it was a horrible day. I was like I had like 2 fish on the board. It was like when was lines out like 3 or something like that. It was like
Yeah.
1:30, 2 o'clock. I'm like, man, this is rough. And I previously my job was working for the division wildlife, and I did fisheries work at Tycoon Lake, and we had put fish structures in there the year before that or something like 7 or 8 months before that. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go fish these. We put them in there to attract fish. Maybe there's some fish over there. And I was just burning this crankbait along top of them, and I kept getting snagged, and I'm like, oh, get snagged. I paddle over there, get my snag out, and then go back about 20, 30 feet off, cast at it again. It was in like 8, 9 feet of water. And do it again, and Everett passes me by my kayak, and he's like, trying to get a reaction bite today, huh? I was like, yeah, something like that. And as soon as he said that, I hooked into something, and I was like, man, I got a snag. And all of a sudden I look to my left, and this giant bass comes jumping out of the water. I'm like, oh my God, it's a giant bass. It's like, it was my PB at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, dude, please get this in. Because I even like picked up my rod to snap the line loose because I thought my snag, but like my line started pulling away from my hand. I'm like, snag is not supposed to do that. And all of a sudden this thing comes up. I'm like, oh God. It was a cool event, but yeah, it was a 20.5 incher on this. I actually have it right here by my desk. I'll never use it again, but it's just big crank. It's a big crankbait.
There it is.
But yeah, I got that, and it was just the timing was so funny because Everett's like, yeah, I've been burning a crankbait all day, nothing's hitting it. I just like was like, I'm just messing around at this point because I was like, there's structure, there may be something here. It's the middle of the summer or something like that. It was a pretty dog day. But
Yeah.
it was an awesome event, and it just snowballed from there because I believe after that was the Nemasilla event, and I went up there. Never been to the lake before. Just cruising around along the banks, and I found a school of some giant bass, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I got them, pretty much all of them, to eat, like every one of them at the school to eat a worm. And I was like, unreal, man. It was a good time.
I think Aaron Stolbaum had talked about the plum color one that he was using. He
Hmm.
talked about it on the podcast, but you were also throwing like a color that not a lot of people were throwing. What was that color you were
I was
throwing?
just using straight black.
Oh, I was thinking that was a tournament where you had that. It
I,
was.
I had the morning dawn. I used the morning dawn leech too that
Oh
day
yeah,
at
that leaf.
Mesilla. Yeah. So this ain't the color, but it's just a little finesse worm like this. But it's the morning dawn. It's like a pink with blue flake in it. I caught like a 19 and a quarter or something on that. That was pretty wild. And the lily pads on my spinning gear gave me a heart
Oh,
attack.
nice. Well, I think Shootman bought a bunch of them from. He said to tell you thank you.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, um, yeah. Well, hey, also 15% off. Crawler 15. If he wants
Yeah.
to buy some more of them. So
Right. Yeah, dude.
I love it. The other thing I want to do, other than talk about like BKFT and all that, I always like to kind of get to know, or I want the people listening to get to know the anglers. If you had to go all the way back, so two questions. You got
Gotcha.
track. Two questions in one.
Two questions. All right.
Two
Let me write
questions in
this
one.
down.
All right. So the first question would be like where all the fishing started. You talked about walking the creeks and parks
Mhm.
as a little kid. Where did the fishing start? Where'd that passion come from? Was there a person or whatever? And then where did the kayak fishing?
All right. So it all started when I was super young. I was the official like bait catcher for my father and all his friends because they all like to go catch catfish at the river. So I was in charge of stocking the bait bucket at home with chubs and stuff like that. So I'd go down to the creek, and they wouldn't even equip me with the proper gear. I had to make my own fishing rods out of like sticks. So I learned like a sycamore branch is pretty sturdy with about 8 foot of monofilament tied to it with the little hook. But I'd go and just like catch chubs and stuff off of tree root wads in the little tiny little ditch behind where we lived in Southwest Ohio. And that's just where the passion grew, man. Just spending all day there, just catching these little fish, man. It just made me so happy. And it was my medium for sure, like to just go out and somewhere you could just clear your mind, right? And it was therapeutic, and I absolutely loved it. And I've never left the creek since. It's just there's something about just putting on some old shoes, some shorts, and just getting wet and getting down, getting muddy, getting nasty, crawling up the steep banks. There's just something about that adventure that I absolutely love. But that's where it all started. And then it's only a couple years ago that I bought the Pelican. I was like, I want to get out on these rivers, especially the Hocking River here in Southeast Ohio. I was like, I want to get out because when you're bank fishing, when you're wading, you can only go so far. Like when you put 7 to 8 miles on the riverbank, dude, that gets tiring. I was like, I want to get on a kayak and do like 10-mile floats. Like I want to do like long floats and just really experience everything and look at everything. So I got that little Pelican. It was like 9 foot. Could barely, the water was like 2 inches from coming over the hull. I'm pretty sure I hit the weight max on it. It was like a tiny little thing. But I got it and caught some huge fish out of it. And I'm like, okay, it's time to invest in something a little bit better. So I got my Old Town 106 PDL, and it's been lights out ever since. I could stand up comfortably. Now I can pedal in the wind. The wind is not my enemy, really, not too much anymore, I guess you could say. But using the pedals in the wind is way easier than trying to paddle, you know.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, that's where the kayaking came from. And now, man, I'm just so pumped. I'm just so ready for the year. I'm just so ready to get out there. I've already taken my kayak out a couple times. Caught some smallmouth already on the rivers here in Southeast Ohio. So,
I caught one. So
hey, hey, one's enough for me, man.
I was
I don't have
surprised.
high expectations in February and super early March, you know. But we've been catching them. It's been surprising. These weird warm spells that we've had in Ohio this year, it's been really weird. But the fish seem to like it and they're getting super active. So
Yeah. The Pelican you had, was that like a sit-in?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
it was a 100 angler X or something like that. It was on sit on
Oh, so
top.
it was a catch 100. Yeah.
No, not the catch. Is it the catch? I don't know. The
Oh,
catch 100. The catch 100 is a big one, I think. The newer
well,
one.
it's still a 10 foot.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Well, yeah, they got the power, like the
The
power.
power. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah, but the Pelican. So I had a catch 125, which was a 12 footer. So I'm thinking the catch, they had like a 110,
Yeah.
but it sounds like you had like a small, but it was a sit on top.
Hmm.
Man, that was a good little boat.
It was perfect for the creeks, man. I sold it actually,
Yeah.
like to get funds for my pel or my old town. I sold it for a few $100, got somebody else into kayak fishing and just said, go ahead, take it.
Yeah.
So
I love it. What do you so is that what you have now? Do you have two kayaks or just I know some people have like a big water and then like a creek boat.
I just have the 106 PDL.
Yeah, it's a nice
Just got
kayak.
the one. Yeah, it's nice. It's perfect, man. I've taken it out on Dale Hollow. It's it actually handles pretty great in the bigger water. So I'm not one to go out into the offshore with it, but I can catch fish on the bank and stuff like that. So I'm all good.
Yeah. No, I went out on Lake Erie with Chuck Earls and he had to tow me back. So made
That's
for
a
some good
nightmare.
video, but yeah, and that man, that guy, Chuck Earls, he's not playing around with safety.
Oh yeah.
And I get it. Cleveland, I would say Cleveland. Anything north of here, I'm like, oh, it's Cleveland. But he's on Lake Erie. You can lose your life, man.
Yeah.
It's no joke. I think it's like 2 inches of moving water can do like 2,000 pounds of pressure or something crazy. So like if you get pinned up against a tree,
And
um,
that's honestly when we were out kayak fishing uh about 3 weeks ago now, me and the guy I was with, we came upon one of those strainers and the water's only a waist deep and you really underestimate the power of just a few inches of water. And this tree was laying across the creek and I was trying to, like a rookie, I tried to get out and stand up on the log that the strainer because it was a big tree, like it was a big tree. So I tried to get out and like try to pull my kayak up over it, and I was like, this ain't gonna work. So we had to like this water had me pinned up against this tree, and like it was super super hard to get away from that. Like as soon as I touched it, that water just pressed me against that tree, and it was just like it literally took all of my might just to push away from it and to get back upstream and then kind of go around it and get underneath it safely. Yeah, definitely do not underestimate water, man, because a lot of people lose their life every year because they underestimate what something that doesn't look menacing at all, and they underestimate it, and it costs them a lot.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, just whatever, go on YouTube or TikTok and whatever you see these like bridges that are washed out and they pick up vehicles and they take the vehicle downstream. And you're like,
Hmm.
how was that like 3 inches of water or whatever?
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. Also the stat I gave a minute ago, like don't I always like to say on every podcast, like don't listen to anything I say. If you need actual data, go find it on your own. Including anything I may have said with Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail.com. Go on the website and get all that information. Brian, I try to keep these to about 40 minutes. I knew I couldn't do it talking to you. And there's so many more things I want to talk to you about, but maybe we could do this again.
Yeah, man. I'd absolutely be game to get back on and do some talking with you.
Heck yeah. You killed it last year, and it's so cool to hear that you're going to fish again this year. And I want to continue to watch your channel, the Creek Crawler and Crawler 15. Anyone that's but other than that, like anyone else you want to say thanks or give a shout out to anyone?
I have to say thanks to my wife and my family. Like she understands that I want to do something with YouTube like professionally as a career eventually, and it takes a lot of sacrifice of my time, a time away from them, and she's totally supportive of that. So I want to give all my shout outs and my love to my wife and my two daughters because if you want to get into the YouTube game and you want to be serious about it, there's going to be sacrifices that you have to make, unfortunately, and sometimes it's time with family. And if you want to do something big, that's just something you have to try to learn and cope with. And like you said earlier, don't take the time with your family for granted and just be in the moment with them as well. But yeah, Vance Outdoors, Nico Baits, 6 Sense Baits, Waterland. The folks that support my channel. Like, I don't get any money from them. They just give me some cool gear, to use along the way, and that's super cool with me. So if I can make some videos and someone believes in what I'm doing and trusts what I'm trying to build, I'll support them and they'll support me, and that's just how it goes on the YouTube front. But I thank you so much for bringing
Heck
me
yeah.
on tonight, man. I had a great conversation and I look forward to seeing you at Alum Creek.
Yeah, man. Good luck. See you there. And
All
bye,
right,
everyone.
see you later.
Forgot to say during the video that please make sure you like and subscribe to BKFT YouTube channel. And of course, the Creek Crawler. Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, all those things.